Yo guys, Vision here back with more Call of Duty Zombies content. Today's video will be around Shattered Vale, an amazing Black Ops 6 Zombies map with a very interesting and fun to play map layout, incredible map lore and unique features, a truly entertaining and intense Easter egg journey from the story, the wonder weapon with the Ray Gun Mark II returning, it's all of its variants, as well as the incredible and challenging boss fight. This map is going to be a fun one to break down. I cannot wait to get into this one, with it being episode 16 of the Zombie series, with all of the previous episodes on my channel. So, on that note, let's get right into it. So I guess first things first, just as a general overview going into this video, before we get into the details of the map, the Easter egg and all that sort of stuff, I'll just give sort of my expectations on the map from what I've seen so far online, how it felt playing it for the first time, all of that sort of stuff. So I guess generally, when you play this map out, it is an amazing map. I was taken away with how fun this map is to play through, and the expectations going into it, I'd say from what I saw online, this had sort of medium to high expectations, and I definitely can say that this map met those standards and achieved an even higher expectation than what I initially thought I was going to think of this map. From what I saw online, this was arguably the best Black Ops 6 map, which we'll get into in a second, with being it's such a good sort of unique experience in itself, being in a mansion, having one of the coolest boss fights we've had in a very long time, which we'll get into again at the end, and just generally all throughout, I think that this map sort of superseded expectations, and even without elemental weapons to a degree. Of course, it is the Ray Gun Mark II, and with the amount of times I've played this map, I'd say I've played it about 5 times. I failed the boss fight twice before I eventually did it on the 3rd time. The first time I ever got to the boss fight, it was too high of a round. I was on my own. I think I was in the high 30s. I was watching the video on the first time ever playing the map in itself, and just generally did not think that was the best solution. But of course, I don't mind failing because it just means to get you play it again and again. And the second time I ended up playing it, I was playing on co-op. We were in a bit of a rush. We went into the boss fight without tier 3 PAP weapons or even legendary variants, and it just was too overwhelming to say the least. And we panic pressed or used our chopper gunners sort of in that 3rd and 4th phase where it gets really overwhelming and just becomes too difficult. And I absolutely love that. I'm not complaining. I absolutely love that this Easter egg is really difficult in terms of the boss fight. Just generally, I think the experience of this map is super fun, and I would definitely replay it. I almost cannot wait, even though I've just completed it on the day I'm recording this. I cannot wait to go replay this map again. It is a really incredible experience both playing this map as well as being able to play it multiple times. Like I said, getting to play the map multiple times is a great feeling. Even if so, I've had maps so far in this series where I've done the Easter eggs first time, and it just means I move on to the next episode. I'm planning ahead with my sort of series in itself as we lead into Black Ops 7, with us being so close now with it just around the corner. And by failing this map and not doing the boss fights and not completing the Easter egg first time, it just means I get to play the map over and over again and play it more times. Unless, of course, it's a bad map, which of course this is not. It means that I get to play a really fun and incredible map just over and over again, which is not a downside by any means. And I always like to sort of add a positive spin in failing Easter egg attempts. But for this map, I'd like to think with failing it a couple of times, the next time I play this map, which I will be doing going forward, this will definitely be a map I come back to more often than not. I definitely think I'll be more efficient and just generally better at doing this map, and can perhaps go into a high round sort of attempt after that. That's probably what I will end up doing anyway, because I don't actually truly know how this map will play out for a high round map, which I guess is part of the sort of criteria in how I would rank maps. If a map is a really good high round map, it then adds to the list of it being a great all-time map, but we'll get into that in just a second. Figuring out this map and the Easter egg was definitely super fun, and again, like I said, the boss fight in itself was super challenging, which we'll go over at the end of the video with regards to how you complete the Easter egg, with it not being a guide, but just my expectations, my summary, my thoughts, my tips and tricks, all that sort of stuff for any newer players, and of course anyone been sticking around throughout this series. So I'd say firstly, as a ranking, as of right now and initially of completing this map literally today, I would definitely stand by this being an A tier map. And what I mean by that is this ranks really high on my all-time list, alongside maps even like Buried or Kino de Toten, which may be a bit of a hot take and maybe controversial, but I definitely think this map has so much A tier potential. But I would need to play it more, get through more of the maps in this series, in all of the Black Ops games, just go through more of them, previous CODs, and truly determine where I'd rank this map all the time. But I would say that this is definitely arguably the best Black Ops 6 map that they have produced. This map is closely behind Citadel in my personal rankings, very sort of close or head to head with the likes of Terminus. And of course, as we're going into Janus Towers next week's episode, in preparation for Black Ops 7's release, we'll have to decide on what the best map is, I guess, on the final episode. It is a fun and unique map layout, great features such as the secret rooms that you unlock throughout the Easter egg journey, with the library, the banquet hall, and the Doppelgas cave. I even love the pack punch area, very sort of Terminus-esque and sort of D-Machine like from Cold War. Then of course there's no elemental weapon in this map. If you guys have been sticking around throughout the series, I love elemental weapons. But of course we have the return of the iconic Ray Gun Mark II, one of the greatest wonder weapons of all time. A real good one for myself when it came out and Buried back in the day. I remember this so well, and using this and the paralyzer. Anytime this gun appears on a map, it just instantly ticks a box in my sort of criteria on what makes a map great. And having multiple new variants on this are very, very cool. It makes this map so much better. I'd say overall, I'd say this map is pretty difficult, to be honest. If I'm sort of speaking from a casual point of view, I would say it's definitely a hard map to figure out on its sort of base standard. But I guess it is an incredible map with so much space. It's such a large scale map, and the sort of journey in itself in completing the Easter egg, the story, the incredible mid-game cutscene, all leading into the boss fight are just immaculate. And of course, the boss fight, which is so good on this map, one of the best boss fights I've done in a long time. Definitely one of the hardest boss fights I've ever done, probably even in the top 5, with the arena being challenging with its space, the pathing of the boss, the gas pools and zombies all around. The boss fight in itself, very fun, although very intense and challenging. I absolutely loved it, and I cannot wait to play this again, as I've said. And like I said, I don't mind failing Easter eggs, especially on a map that is fun. It sounds weird, but I love having to lock in, take it serious, and appreciate what a masterpiece and a challenge of a map this can be and what it is in general. I'd say in comparison to other maps, for this map versus other Black Ops 6 maps especially, generally I'd say this has to be one of the best Black Ops 6 maps. Worst case, in my opinion, it is a top 3 map all time in terms of Black Ops 6. I wouldn't even be surprised if this map in itself ends up in my top 10 all-time maps. I know that sounds insane and probably a hot take, but I love this map. I think it ticks so many of the boxes in my criteria of what makes a good map. Now, I do really like Terminus as well. That is episode 13 in the series, in case you guys haven't seen it, which is linked in the description below. And I also went into a lot more detail on that map, as well as Citadel Day More, which is episode 14. Both maps I really enjoy sort of plan on playing going forward in the future. And I'd say both of them are also A tier maps as well. Incredible throughout. And as I said, a massive Easter egg guy in myself. This map ticks a lot of those boxes, and sort of I find it hard almost to not put this in the A tier based on how many boxes this ticks on my criteria and what makes a good map with regards to it's the atmosphere in itself, the journey of the Easter egg, the story, the cutscene, the boss fight, the elements or the secret rooms, the little areas on the map, the features in itself make this really cool, as well as the individual aspects of this map with regards to the ray gun, the wonder weapon, and all of the other sort of secret Easter eggs in this game as well. I think this map just generally ticks so many of those boxes. It is almost really difficult to rank this lower than an A tier map. I can understand it being in top 10 being a very hot take and very controversial, whatever it may be, but until, like I said, until I make a final ranking video, which will come at the end of the series after the journey we go on in completing all of the maps historically, working our way through to Black Ops 7, and then juggling other games like Black Ops 4, Cold War, whatever it may be, and then finally we will be able to determine the ultimate sort of ranking on where this map lies. But I can already foresee that this map is a great one. I've enjoyed every moment of it so far. There was not a moment in this Easter egg that I didn't enjoy. I just thoroughly enjoyed the entire thing, figuring it out and completing the Easter egg, and also, of course, defeating the boss. I think it's just an incredible map, and I think I cannot say enough good things about this map, as you can already tell. Very passionate, very satisfied with the outcome of this map and the experience in completing this Easter egg. I'd say, just to remind you guys, in case you are new to the series, or in case you have been sticking around, firstly, thank you if you have been sticking around and enjoying the series so far. There's plenty more to come with regards to Easter eggs that we're going to complete in this sort of journey, in completing all of the maps, Easter eggs, all the way through to every single map there ever was in Call of Duty Zombies in terms of Easter eggs, and of course all of the tryout maps just generally as well, which is the ultimate goal for this series. Completing an Easter egg on a map is the mandatory requirement. Of course, if the map has an Easter egg, I have to actually complete the Easter egg to upload the video to the channel, so that is like the requirement. Of course, other than maps that don't have Easter eggs, perhaps the World at War maps and the earlier Black Ops 1 maps, whatever it may be, that hasn't got an Easter egg, then of course I just go over it. So at the starting of this series, I started with World at War. Chronologically, I like to sort of work my way through it, and then just sort of juggling around other Black Ops 1, 2, 3, 4, and Cold War maps, and then I'm going to sort of work our way around all of the different sort of titles, working my way through the series, and eventually we will determine an ultimate list. That is the ultimate goal of this series, to have every single one of the maps on this channel, in the playlist, in the description, all linked for you guys to go watch and share my experiences of playing them, completing them, and just generally all the way throughout a summary of that map, what it did for me, what it did for the community. I'd like to think that this map influenced a positive spin on the outcome of Black Ops 6 and the true impact that it had in the community. I'd say in general, as a comparison of Black Ops 6, I really think that this is an underrated sort of title in itself, perhaps even overhated from what I've seen in reviews in the community as a zombies point of view. I get the game and the online all that sort of stuff. We're not talking about that. We're talking about purely from a zombies point of view. I'd go as even far as saying that genuinely, even having played zombies since the start as an OG player, that this game and itself and all of the maps that it's provided has top 3 potential, which of course is definitely going to be controversial. It's definitely going to be a hot take, and I'm not saying at this point in time it is definitely a top 3 sort of title in itself, but I think it's definitely arguable with the maps it's provided. I mean, Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3 are in my top 2. It doesn't really matter which way around, they're both in the top 2. But as for the third one, I think it definitely can be sort of contending with the likes of Black Ops 4, Black Ops 1, World at War even, or of course even Cold War, whatever it may be for you guys. But I guess for anyone new, I'll leave that, guys, for you guys down below in the comments to decide on whether this is a hot take, or if you're a newer player to zombies and what your thoughts are on Black Ops 6 Zombies. But like I said, I've been playing since World at War, and I genuinely do think this is a really good title, especially the maps it's provided, like Shattered Vale, which has been incredible. Now, the map in itself is a large-scale map with interesting areas and features, all mostly used throughout in the Easter egg. As for high round, as I said, I haven't completed one personally, but I can imagine it would be a pretty good high round map to especially in Black Ops 6 considerations. Now, as for the Easter egg itself, this is not a guide. I remind you guys in every single one of these series, this is not a guide by any means on how to complete the Easter egg. It's purely me just giving you guys an overview of the map, my expectations, my initial thoughts, my final thoughts, and leading into the next map in this series. And just generally, I always like to go through the Easter egg in itself because, like I said, it is the requirement for this episode to be uploaded to the channel for you guys to actually see. So pretty much for this map, you start off as usual, opening up the entire map, and you get to the Pack-a-Punch area, which is down at the bottom, which is quite a far way on this map. Like I said, it's a large-scale map. It does take a little bit of time to get there, and on this map, and part of this Easter egg, you actually have to get to like round 10 before you can literally start progressing the Easter egg with regards to obtaining the floppy disk, which is obtained down below in the SAM sort of room in itself, which is of course where the Pack-a-Punch is. You then need to obtain the Ray Gun Mark II using the floppy disk that we just obtained, obtain the Project Janus secret code, find out the coordinate numbers using the letters on the whiteboard, free the Doppelgast using the code that you get at the end, obtain the severed arm, go into the armory, and obtain the Ray Gun Mark II. You then need to obtain the 3 canisters around the map. There is one by using the Casimir device to obtain the empty canister below double tap. You then need to shoot the blue crystals around the map using the ray gun to obtain the 2nd canister. And then finally, you need to use 3 or more tomahawks to hit pipes in the sort of supply tunnel, turn the gas valves, and obtain the 3rd canister by blowing open the sort of chamber in the actual SAM sort of Pack-a-Punch room in itself. Collect all 3 canisters, and then you need to move on to the next step, which is to collect all 4 of the seeds around the map. There are multiple different plants, locations. You need to obtain 4 seeds, go into the sort of conservatory, and place the canister down, and then start filling up each seed individually, filling up the bar, and then once complete, you can build the Ray Gun Mark R, the first variant of this wonder weapon. You then go into the library, you collect souls on the machine next to the portrait using this ray gun, obtain the 3 missing book pages by going to the fireplaces around the map, the desks, the bar, all that sort of stuff, and obtain those 3 missing pieces using the ether shroud. Open the secret room using the books to obtain the nuclear plant inspection report. Then you summon the boss in the secret library using the Ray Gun Mark R to defeat the boss, break the shield, and collect the sentinel artifact. Then you're onto the 2nd ray gun, obtain the essence bomb by breaking crates around the map, those little supply crates. You then go obtain the essence bomb, go down into the sort of supply tunnel, blow a hole in the wall by the cave, obtain 2 refractors that are around the map in the flower beds, go into the cave, place them down, then place the canister that you get from the 2nd one, go and place that in the box. It will then shoot out a beam into the crystal. The crystal will then sort of reflect this beam into other areas of these map. You need to basically sort of shine them around into the actual Doppelgast stone statues, spawn them in by meleeing the crystal, and then you have effectively defeated all 3 of them. You can go and collect the Ray Gun Mark P near the bedrooms in the sort of western side of the map, then start your trial in the banquet hall next to the portrait, go into the secret room in that new banquet hall, look at the sort of cryptic symbols on the wall, obtain the ritual elixir, pour this into 3 different flasks around the map. One is in the cellar, one is in the main hall opposite the T-Rex statue, and one is in the spawn bridge. Once you've defeated all 3 of those bosses, obtain the 3 codes that it then spawns in on the wall behind the elevator in the banquet hall, and then input this into the safe, all 3 of these numbers, and then you'll be able to collect the antler carving. Then head back into that secret banquet hall, defeat the final boss in that room with the Ray Gun Mark II-P, collect the Sentinel artifact, and then you're on the 3rd and final step, which is to obtain the Ray Gun Mark II-W, place the canister opposite the Speed Cola perk machine. Then when 2 abominations spawn, or 1 of course if you're on single player, you then need to get them to shoot their eye beams at these 3 rocks in that little area on the eastern side of the map from spawn stairs, and then in that area you need them to then run into those 3 rocks after they shoot them with the eye beams, and they will then float into the air. The abominations will despawn. You can then grab the canister, craft the ray gun in the supply depot tunnel, the 3rd variant, and basically once you get that, you need to obtain the sconce item. This is like a little lamp that you need to then reveal the distillery in the main hall using this by following a Simon Says step. Only 3 little lamp steps. You'll then open the distillery stairs, but until you can actually go down there and complete the next step, you'll need to obtain a bell on the eastern side of the map. You'll also need to have brain rot on your gun, turn a zombie into turned next to the bar in the upper main room, have him go over the bar by ringing the bell, collect the flask, and then place this in the secret distillery room that will spawn, defeat the boss using the Ray Gun Mark II-W, and collect the completed Sentinel artifact, where you can now enter the boss fight by going down into the bottom of the map, into the sort of SAM room, where the Pack-a-Punch is, and you can enter the boss fight from this point, where it will basically take you into a really cool mid-credit scene before you enter the final boss fight, where this cutscene is actually incredible in this map. A super cool experience watching this, and as it was the first opening scene on the intro of this video, something that I really enjoyed. I was not aware of going into this game how cool of a cutscene that was. I had no spoilers or anything like that, which is I'm really grateful for, and by that point, I was super hyped up to get into this boss fight. Of course, the first time I ever did this, as I said, I died. I was playing on solo. The second time I ever did this, I died by playing with my brother, who's in this gameplay now, where we basically failed it on the second time by rushing ahead. The third time we then went and had to do it, we finally got it done, where basically the boss fight is split into 4 phases. The first being pretty straightforward. It just kind of gives you a taste on what is to come. Of course, it gets harder from this point onwards. You just have to effectively deal damage, outmaneuver all of the zombies and the gas areas and all that stuff around the map, get an idea on how you're best to sort of move around this. Me and my brother came up with a better strategy on the final time doing this, where we pretty much split up for the most part. Of course, when you had to get together, you had to get together, but we tried coordinating, communicating at all times, making sure we were not too crowded together, so zombies were split and we weren't running into each other, leading each other into gas pools, and of course having the T-Rex to sort of move around. Or sorry, not the T-Rex, of course on this map it is the Z-Rex. Now on this map, this is such a cool boss. Defeating this was really rewarding, definitely not easy by any means. I definitely think the average player would struggle, to say the least. I don't know if it's meant to be harder in certain different areas or modes or whatever we did that was so wrong. We didn't go into this with PAP-free weapons either side again, but in this time, like I said, we had chopper gunners, we had better gobble gums, and throughout we definitely just did a better job at coordinating how we're best to move around this map. Of course, it was still challenging, and I still, even though I knew what I was doing, struggled, to say the least, by doing this, as you'll see in this gameplay. We eventually got it done by popping the chopper gunner right at the end of the game, where effectively it clutched up, and you'll see that is when we finally defeat this boss. But on the second sort of phase on this boss fight, it's sort of the same concept as the first. It just gets a bit harder, but effectively you have to do the same sort of thing. The third phase is really where it ramps up and gets far more difficult. The Rex starts running and jumping and charging and becomes way more dangerous, and there just seems to be more gas balls and more it's just generally more dangerous. So this is where you would typically use your second chopper gunner, or your sort of, if you have two, that's where you'd use one of the two, and then you'd save one in your back pocket for the fourth and final phase. If you're on solo, I would definitely save it for the fourth and final phase anyways, because this is where it really gets chaotic, and there's just gas everywhere. You kind of have to just really clutch up, to say the least, and I'm sure there are better strategies, but of course this is the only time I've ever completed this, and like I said, I have failed multiple times, so I'm probably not the best person to, I guess, give advice on how best to do this. I'm sure there are better strategies, but by doing this in the future and completing this again in the future, I will come up with a better strategy, I'm sure. But playing it on single player was definitely not easy by any means. But as I said, I failed this boss multiple times, more times than I actually managed to defeat the boss, of course, so I respect the difficulty of this boss fight, and I absolutely loved it. I'd say in summary, I cannot recommend this map enough, especially if you haven't played it, or if there's any reviews out there you've seen that maybe put you off on playing Black Ops 6 in general, or even this map. I would definitely say do not listen to that. Give it a try for yourself, especially if you're an OG. I am an OG, I've been around since World War, and I absolutely love this map. I'd say it has a strong contender for being the best Black Ops 6 map in the game, definitely in the top 3, and almost arguably in my top 10 all-time favorite maps. But like I said, I have to get through the rest of the series, including Janus Towers, of course, the Reckoning map. That is the last and finale of this game and map, where I'll go as a bit more of a summary in that map in that episode, which will come out next week, just before Black Ops 7, and give you guys a bit of an overview of Black Ops 6, more of a sort of Black Ops 6 finale episode, I guess, before we get into Black Ops 7, which is only a couple of weeks away now, which I'm super excited about, and I cannot wait. And I'd say that this map in itself definitely set the bar really high, and I think this map, Citadel, Daymore, and Terminus are in my top 3, but we'll have to see how Reckoning plays out. But in general, I'd say this is definitely one of the best maps I've played in a very long time, a map that is definitely challenging, to say the least, a really fun experience, and a really challenging and intense moment for both me and my brother, who've been playing zombies for the longest time. We've been playing since World at War. I was there from the beginning, and I'd say that this map definitely has not failed in sort of superseding expectations, which I already had medium to high expectations of anyway. But I'd say this is one of the most enjoyable experiences I've had, probably the number one in terms of Black Ops 6, in terms of enjoyable and challenging and all of the above. But with that said, that's pretty much the video, guys, in full. As always, if you've enjoyed the video, do not forget to like and subscribe, and if you have any comments, tips, or tricks about playing zombies, Shattered Veil, or of course anything about Black Ops 6, or even any suggestions about future videos that you want to see on the channel, let me know down below in the comments and I'll go right back to you. I'm Vision SGN. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.